Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lee. Thanks for watching my video. Today we're taking a look at the 1.3 update for Star Citizen. I've already gone and wandered through a little bit of this earlier today, and I'm going to take a look at a few things that I had noticed that were bugs in the game that were present during the PTU. I didn't want to actually do any kind of reviewing of this during the PTU simply because the PTU is kind of even more of an alpha state than this is. This game's still an alpha. This, what we're in now, is still an alpha. But now that it's actually on the live server, I'm going to take a look at a few things and just note a few things that were still in here. Now, right now, for some reason, I can't seem to... did the buggy break again? The buggy was working yesterday, but now it seems to be grounded again, where it's like flat down against the ground. You can't seem to do anything in it, but that might fix itself later. There is a couple of things I've noticed happening with the buggy that are a little bit weird. One of them being actually that if you're in Arena Commander and you're playing Vanduul Swarm, or there's actually a number of ways to make it happen from what I understand, but yesterday when I was playing Vanduul Swarm and I failed the entire mission deliberately, the next time I spawned in inside a buggy in space, and that was fun, really. So here we go. This new thing is actually for us to select what armor we're going to wear. Now, one thing I wanted to point out with this real quick, if you'll notice, bottom right-hand corner in this set of armor, you have what looks like your health indicator and what would be rounds for a gun or whatever the case may be. Now, right now, if I wander up here towards one of my few ships, the Aurora LN, everything seems to be working fine. And I'll come back to this in a second because that's a little bit important. I'm going to head right on back over here to the platform to change my armor. And I did test this with every piece of armor yesterday, and it happens with every piece of armor except for the one that I'm wearing that you start out in, which is the Outlaw Heavy Armor. And I think it's because the Outlaw Heavy Armor is the only set that actually has a helmet on it. So it's the only set that would actually have a way of indicating to you what your health and your ammo status is. But let's just pick my favorite, which is the Marine Medium Armor. And you'll notice I don't have the HUD up right there. It's in the bottom right corner, it's missing. But if I wandered this way, and this happens in the same spot with every single piece of armor, and it's really kind of, if I'm back here towards this door, doesn't happen. The further up towards the large door on the other end I go is when it happens, right about here. You'll notice in the top right-hand corner there's that HUD, but it's really small and seems really far away. That happens again with every piece of armor, with the exception of the Outlaw Heavy, because it has that helmet. So something small, and this buggy is just doing its thing apparently. So let's go back to the Outlaw Heavy Armor just so we don't have to deal with that bug. Now, and just messing around, we're going to come over here and go up this elevator to the top portion of this side of the hangar. I'm only doing this in the Revel and York hangar. I do have access to all 4 hangars, but the Revel and York is really my favorite hangar, and it's the one that I'm going to be doing any kind of videos in for the most part, unless I decide to change it for whatever reason. So, I'm really not sure what this is for. Wall of Honor. I haven't actually noticed this before. I think I recall this being mentioned a while back, but anyway. Things in here seem to be working as normal. I haven't noticed anything wrong. Well, that's actually one thing. I'll get to that in a second. I haven't noticed anything wrong with the locker yet. Oh, that was glitchy. But there was one thing I noticed that happens a lot easier with another object over here, and I'll show it off in a second. You might have noticed it in the video clip just there. One other thing over here, the towel no longer seems to work. I can't use it. Towel is broken. Cannot use towel. The use icon does pop up, but I just can't do anything with it. Now this, when I open the case, you notice how everything is really kind of shaky. If I move perfectly in front of it, well, there it goes again. Usually I can stand in one spot and it won't actually shake, like right there. No shaking. Seems to be no issue with it whatsoever. Move over here again and it'll start weirdly shaking, like I don't know what that is, either way. So I'm not sure what's causing that. Now, last time I was in here, I'd come through the same path, and I was just kind of messing around with things. When I came back down, my buggy was missing. Like, it had just disappeared. Somebody took it and decided to fly it around in space, I guess. But it still seems to be there, but it's still very obviously grounded. So I guess we won't be taking that around like I had hoped. We're going to go down to the other end. There's a couple of other things we want to check out. So this is my Aurora LN. That's the package ship that I currently have. It does not have LTI. That is my Constellation Phoenix, which now does have LTI. It was actually the first ship that I had purchased. I had purchased it as the package ship, but I had gotten in just a few days after the LTI option was taken away. So I was a little bit bummed that that ship did not have LTI, yet every ship I purchased after that did, with the exception of the Aurora. And so recently with the CCU upgrade option, I was able to get that LTI'd. I did have to burn my package to do it. Not a big deal. I'd rather have the LTI in that ship, but LTI really not that important. For me, it's just kind of a OCD thing. I want the LTI for whatever reason in my brain that tells me I want it. I also have the Aegis Saber, the Aegis Vanguard, the Carrack, as well as one other ship that I have with LTI on it that I'm waiting to upgrade to, hopefully an Avenger. I'm thinking the Avenger's the way to go, but I might upgrade it to something else, depending. There's a possibility it might be the Redeemer. I kind of want the Redeemer still. So one thing I wanted to note with these, I've actually got all of the ships you can get so far that are part of the gifts for being a subscriber. A couple of them from owning ships and whatnot. But one thing I wanted to point out is that these cases are really cool. I noticed that on this end, there doesn't seem to be any glass on the ends, which I don't know if they're supposed to have glass or not. Doesn't really matter. What I thought would be really cool is if you could come up to these, push a button, and actually have the models rotate inside the cases. It would just be a cool way to be able to see all the other angles of the ships without actually having to wander around to each side and try and get around it. Like, you can't actually get around back here to see the back of the model or anything like that. But just a simple button we could walk up to, click use, and have the ship rotate so we could actually see all angles of the ship would be pretty awesome. No real bugs or anything that I've noticed over here, but up here we've got a couple. Now that's my fish tank. I think I've got all the fish. Doesn't really matter, but we are getting a new fish tank coming soon, and I'm hoping to grab it one way or another. The calendar at one point was having something of a bug with it, but I don't seem to see an issue with it anymore. It seems to work perfectly fine. All of these worked, didn't have any... Oh, wait a minute. Uh-oh. Okay. That one works, but it doesn't look quite the same as it did before. This one turned on, but it's not... Definitely doesn't look the same either. It used to have like some glowing clouds in there. That isn't doing anything that I can tell. It used to have like lasers shooting at it and whatnot, so I guess those are broken. Those are just the, what are they called? Whatever. Display ornaments that I have so far. And the couple things I noticed over here, the jukebox wasn't working. Can't use the jukebox anymore. I'm not sure if that's because I have nothing in the jukebox folder or what, but the jukebox doesn't have an option to turn on anymore. It used to be that there was at least some default Star Citizen music in there, but no use of the jukebox, and that was by far my favorite toy in this entire thing, was the jukebox. I also noticed this, and I'm pretty certain that this has changed. I think some of the alcohol that's inside this case has actually been changed out. I'm not sure why, or if it's actually positively the case. I'm pretty certain it is, because I distinctly recall there being some other alcohol in here, and there's some in here that I don't remember being in there. But there's that. Doesn't seem to be able to use it either, though. So that said, we're just going to go back down. We're going to take a quick venture over into Corp and check out what's changed there besides murderous buggies. One thing I've noticed is the lighting has changed. It looks a little bit foggier in here. The lighting itself looks fine. I actually think it looks better than it did before. It's not as bright, but it does look foggier, and I think I'm okay with that. I think that's just the way they're going to go with the lighting. Maybe not, but I think it looks good right now. And lighting has been being improved over time, so that's a plus. And looks like the buggy is still grounded. One thing I have noticed that's been driving me insane, such a small and petty thing for me to complain about, but if you noticed when the door went down, that post just kind of disappeared into that piece of metal. It isn't just a hole in the ground where the post goes down into, it actually just slides down into that and it just disappears. The rest of the door doesn't do that. The rest of the door you have, like, I can see all the individual, good grief, I can see all the individual pieces of the door around the entire frame, with the exception of that centerpiece that just disappeared underneath that piece of what looks like metal. Also the fact that this is, if you look at it real close, the edges are not lined up perfectly, they're a little bit off. That's just me being a jerk, but my OCD is a little bit weird like that. Either way, moving on. Yesterday I had noticed an issue with these objects, like obviously the textures on this one haven't loaded completely. Oh, there it went. Yep, there it is. But I had also noticed that the rock over here was actually inside this object, as was the description of both objects, just kind of overlaying each other. So I'm not sure what that was about, but oh my goodness. And then you can see again right what I was talking about, it just kind of disappears into that plate. But either way, just some weird things happening here and there. They don't all seem to be perfectly consistent either. Okay, so let's go down into Corp. We're supposed to be able to see a list. At least I thought I had read that we could see a list of every single instance, but so far I have not seen that, just the one instance as before. Let's see if we can load into it without it kicking us out. I do also have this loaded up on an SSD, so everything loads a lot quicker than it did before for me. Before, it would take a good 3 minutes for something like this to load. Now with the SSD, it's fairly fast. Well, it's not fairly fast, but it's much faster. I might have spoke too soon. Either that or it's already kicked me in. Nope. Here we go. Alright. We're in and people are dancing inside each other. That's cute. Alright, moving on. So some things have changed. I don't recall these down here being there before. They might have been, but things load up in here a lot quick. The AC logo disappeared. But things seem to load up in here quite a bit faster than before too. And that's not just due to my SSD, that's just in general that's happened. One thing I want to point out, this landing pad that you see out here, I just want to make note of it because it's going to be important to something I want to look at later. But you can kind of see a freelancer out there on the pad. And we're going to go out this door here, and we're just going to take a look at what's changed. I'm not going to wander through the entirety of this area. We're going to try and dodge the flaming, exploding, murderous buggies that are being driven around. But pretty much everything on the right-hand side here has remained the same. Ah, crap. So that guy in the buggy there, you can't even see him. But he ain't getting me. Alright, so let's continue on. One thing that I have found out that I didn't know before. Now, F10, I did know this. F10 will turn on your Moby glass, and you can actually look around. If you have a person in front of you, you can see their name. But also now, if you go up to a weapon, you can actually see its description, its price, information on it. It's pretty cool. This is something I absolutely love as a feature. This is a great feature and a brilliant way of actually making this this system work, where we can feel like we're actually in the world, at the same time having all the features of what we would expect from a typical first-person shooter or MMO. And of course, we're going to see a lot of exploding buggies around, because that's what people seem to enjoy doing, is just blowing crap up. I don't expect that these buggies will stay in here. I honestly expect that they will be getting rid of these buggies at some point, because there's really no point to having them here, and people just abuse them and run people over. So whatever. One other thing I noticed, just as a note, since we're over here, this is just something I noticed when I was running around, but you can see a guy floating on nothing nice. The engines, or at least the exhaust tips for the M50 are missing. I'm pretty sure that's an easily noticeable thing that everybody knows about, so no big deal. And I'm sure that'll be fixed very easily. But now we're going to get to what's actually changed in Corp, or at least in this little area that we can run around in. We come down here towards Dumper's Depot. Before, if we came over here, the section just down the stairs and to our right was actually blocked off. Now it's open. We come back in here, and I think this is actually a demonstration of what they plan to do as they can build out the cities and landing zones bit by bit. But you'll notice that this says under construction. Well, for all we know, maybe in a couple months, when they work on this a little bit more, this under construction area will actually be built out, and there will be some shops here. And I think that's actually going to be the case, because if we come up here, we hang a right, there's just more area. It's a fairly big area back here that they've added on. I'm not certain, but I think it's actually doubling the size of Corp in total, but not in terms of actual building space and whatnot. But here it says, coming soon, Galleria Retail Shopping Center. You come down here, and there's just a big area down here where there's a bunch of closed shops. They say for lease on them, the doors are closed. You look off in the distance here, you can see cranes building and working on things. In fact, this object right in front of us is the crane itself. So it's kind of a neat way of them showing off that this area is being built and worked on as they go along. And maybe in a couple months, as stated, this could be an area to actually go into a shop and walk around in and whatnot and do normal things. Here's a working buggy that hasn't been blown up yet, so let's grab it. Now the buggy, when working, is actually working properly too. They did fix how the hands hold onto the rail when you get in. They fixed how the hands hold onto the steering wheel, so it's no longer broken. Yeesh. Of course, driving it in here, not exactly the easiest, and obviously I've just broken it. But I'm going to go ahead and get out before this thing explodes on me. Alright. So now, you'll notice here that that platform there, I believe is the exact same platform that the Freelancer is sitting on. I'm not sure if we can see part of the... No, I don't think you can see part of the Freelancer from over here. But I believe that's the platform the Freelancer is on. We just can't see it from here. I could be wrong. But if we come over this way and avoid the burning buggy, we're just going to come around the corner here, and there's actually another dead end up this way. This gate's been blown open, it looks like, which is kind of cool. We come down here, and down at the end is the dead end here. And it does have one of those signs on it that says closed for development. And I believe we'll actually be able to walk out there at some point. I think that'd be pretty neat. We could walk out there onto the landing platform and look around. I expect that that's the case, and we'll see when they work this out. But that's pretty much it. They just kind of added in a new area that's full of incomplete stuff, just kind of a way of saying, hey, we're working on this stuff, and it looks pretty cool. And I'm kind of hoping that they can continue doing this, keep on building out the landing areas, make them bigger and bigger as time goes on, and oh my goodness. Alright, got over that. Moving on. So lastly, just going to head back to my hangar. I wanted to see if the buggy had fixed itself. Sometimes when you load into this area and go back, or you load into Arena Commander and go back, the buggy will fix itself and go back to what it was. So we're going to go give that a shot right now. I'm not going to do a demonstration of Arena Commander at this time. I might do that in a different video. A few changes have been made. Things are working a little bit better. Controllability's changed as well. But we're going to try and get past this guy without getting run over. Oh, wait a minute. I can't go that way. Gotta go this way. Well, it does seem like this is coming along very nicely. Things are starting to come together and start to look like a game that we can actually play besides just the Arena Commander portion. I'm looking forward to 2.0, which they have not given us a set date on when they plan to launch this, but given that they rolled out 1.3 pretty quickly and took it from PTU to live and did so many bug fixes, there was a huge list of bug fixes that they had put together when they made 1.3 live. But I'm really hoping that 2.0 comes out by the end of the year. I can't say that it will, just really hoping it will. It would be nice. It looks like the buggy might be working, so let's take a look here. It's not slammed down. Okay, so as I approached it, it just kind of seems like it's afraid of me because it just kind of slunk down to the ground there and I can't get into it. So, yeah. The buggy was working yesterday. Oh, and look at that. I just noticed that it looks like the seats are missing from the buggy. Huh. Well, that's pretty much that. That's the bugs that I've noticed thus far running through this. There is one last thing I'd like to point out before I close this channel down that has changed, and it's a rather big and important change. Probably going to lead to a lot of confusion for people that didn't read the patch notes. But if we go ahead and get into a ship here, and we're going to step on in and get into the seat of this Aurora LN. Once you're in the seat of any given vehicle, before, in order to get out, you would just tap F, and F would get you back out of the seat, just like F got you into it. That is no longer the case. If you want to get out of the seat, you have to hold down Control and hit F to exit the seat. Not sure exactly why that change was made, maybe because they foresaw an issue where someone might accidentally tap F and get out of their seat in the middle of combat or something. I could see that happening, but that's that. That's how you get out of your seat now. Just keep that in mind. When during the PTU, I was not aware of that when I was messing around with it, and I ended up restarting the game just to get out of the seat of a ship because I couldn't figure it out. So, that said, that's everything, at least that I had noticed in terms of what we see in the hangar and in Corp. Thank you very much for watching. I hope everybody has a good day.